You know, like when I opposed the Bill C-16 in Canada, the mandatory pronoun bill, like I knew, first of all, I knew that that would cause a psychological epidemic. I told the Senate that back in 2017. I said, you guys don't know what you're doing here. You're going to confuse a lot of adolescent young women, and for every girl you hypothetically save who has body dysmorphia, and that'll be a vanishingly small number of people who are actually saved, you're going to doom like 300. Of course, that's exactly what's happened. That's why the Tavistock clinic shut down in the UK, you know, and so there was that. But I also had set myself up, you know, because I had 3 streams of income. I had my university salary, I had a clinical practice, and I had a business. And that wasn't accidental. You know, I knew from my clinical practice that if you wanted to say what you had to say, you had to put yourself in a position where you couldn't be easily taken out by the mob or the tyrant. And then I would say, well, if you're not in a position where you can afford to say what you have to say, then that's an indication that you haven't positioned yourself optimally existentially. You haven't positioned yourself optimally in life. Your foundation is too weak. And so, you know, maybe it'll take you 3 years to fix that, you know, so that now you're grounded firmly so that a casual objection from your boss or even being fired isn't going to take you out. It's not like that's easy. But I mean, abiding by the truth isn't easy. The only thing, but it's a lot more preferable than abiding by falsehood. That's the problem, right? Of course, abiding by the truth isn't easy, obviously. But, you know, what sort of devil do you let into your head if you abide by falsehood? And some of that might be just not saying what you have to say. And that's not just, you know. Mostly we regard sins of commission as more egregious than sins of omission. You know, an outright lie is worse than just failure to say what you know to be the truth. But when enough people are silent about things they know they have something to say about, then you have a tyranny. And so, well, we haven't sorted through all this, you know, very well in our society, but I think it's morally incumbent on all of us to set up our lives so that we can afford to tell the truth. And if you can't, well, then you think, no, you haven't got the hatches battened down, right? The walls of your towers, your fort aren't high enough. You're not properly armed. And you should be, because, you know, the mob's coming for you. And so is the chaos of nature. And you bloody well better be prepared. And so I think if you're anonymous, you're depriving yourself of the necessity to put yourself in a position where you can tell the truth. Now, think about what happened to you. Now, you tell me what you think about this. I mean, I've been watching you for a long time, and it's quite remarkable seeing the impact that you've had that keeps increasing across time. You know, but my experience with you is that, you know, you have your opinions, your perspective, and you'll put them forward. But mostly what you do is you ask people questions that you actually have as questions, right? As far as I can tell, you're mostly trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And so that's honest. And it's honest exposition. It honestly exposes your own ignorance as well. And, you know, you can take the audience along as a consequence of that. And for you, the consequence has been, you know, you've gone from just doing this podcast, sort of a side thing for you, at least when it started, to being, I don't know if there's anybody who has more impact as a single individual on the media environment worldwide than you do. And that's all a consequence of actually truthfully admitting your own ignorance and saying what you had to say. And I know you were set up to do that because you had multiple streams of income, you know, and you couldn't easily be taken out. You'd already accomplished things in a multitude of spheres. But think of the consequence of that. You think, well, would that happen to anybody who did everything they could to ask stupid questions and tell the truth? The answer is maybe. You know, so you don't do that. You hide and you have your reasons. You know, your family's at risk. It's like, fair enough, man. But you deprive yourself of the great adventure of your life, and you contribute by remaining silent to pathologization of the whole society. So, well, that doesn't seem like a very good route to me.
You're making sense. But it's a very, very complex situation for someone who has put all their eggs in one basket, like particularly someone who's a nurse who has to work long hours,